Data log of Terran Contact, 2667. Captain Roy. Roy and his band of fellow militiamen stood at a standstill. The fighters that previously assaulted the station held the advantage, but when he and his men switched frequencies, they were able to mount organized resistance. He, like many others, was unaware of Delta Band. It wasn't a common band in the current age, but with some digging noticed all ships carried a form of it. It operated in a very short range, and found itself arbitrarily switching from the extremely low frequencies encrypted through radiation from stars. As a result of this, the connections through it can be made, but its effect grows the closer in proximity one is to another, capable of transmitting the band itself. Surprisingly, are many ships built from 2400 and later. Gotta hand it to those kids finding this out, Roy muttered to himself. The cannons from the large ship beside him rang out through the speakers of his ship with dramatic feedback. Another enemy fighter went down. When one perished, another took its place, and the eerie silhouettes of ships larger than their own plagued him. He noticed that fighters began backing off, and indicators showed that the enemy was advancing. With their jammers, he was stuck with limited radar, as the feedback proved to be inconsistent and the Delta Band for ship-to-ship communication. So, he took his chance. All ships, this is Captain Roy, head of Draxus Militia. Descend planet side to regroup and rearm, sending coordinates now. He ordered and led the way. Roy connected to a comms officer on the ground at his rendezvous. It was a worn-down military installation when the colony was first founded some 10-odd years ago and was largely abandoned by the Republic. However, that didn't stop the militia from taking control and making it their planet-side HQ. He was initially locked on by base defenses, but they ceased when he came closer to the base. When he landed and departed his ship, he was met by a well-dressed man accompanied by several guards. "Captain Roy?" he exclaimed. "What the hell is going on? We lost contact with Mantis Station and our communications on the ground are a mess." Roy held his hands up in a motion to try and calm the man before him. "Just calm down first," he started. "We were attacked and not by some pirates or mercs. Something else entirely," he said, confusion visible on his peer's face. "That's why I need you to send out a notice over Delta Band. The enemy is bound to enter that atmosphere any moment if we don't have time to lose," he commanded. When the young officer did budge, Roy commanded with a visceral scream, "Move it, Lieutenant. This is a fucking order." The officer scrambled away with a guard in tow, and Roy ordered the rest of the guards to remain. "Right now, we don't have much time, but an enemy is looking to assault the planet, and it's our job to stop them, at whatever the cost," he ordered. "You probably don't have handheld equipment that can transmit in Delta, so get some techs to rig the antenna to do that. We can tune our radios to hijack the signal. Get to it." The men did as he ordered, and commanded or notified their commanders of the changes. Within several minutes, Roy received reports of the successful implementation of the new frequency. City centers were notified of an attack, and all non-combat capable individuals were taken to bunkers. This time, Roy stood around a table that projected a holographic display of not just the surrounding area, but also the planet. "How are surface-to-space scans coming?" he inquired. "The band doesn't fare well in the atmosphere, and the best we can get is the top of the stratosphere. That's as early as we're gonna get." One officer spoke. "What about planetary defenses? What do we have available?" "Planet-wide defenses are slowly coming online. Once they're up, they should be able to retaliate without a wireless connection." Another reported. "We've already got reports of enemy contact and defenses are reporting mass enemy casualties. They didn't know what hit them." "Good," he started. "We just have to be able to hold out until the fleet arrives." The officers surrounding the table looked at one another, and skepticism filled their faces. "I mean no disrespect, but," one officer started, "do you count on that Star Runner to make it?" He sighed. "They have to. We've got no other choice." The others reluctantly agreed. "For now, the best we can do is defend and keep an eye out for landing parties. I don't want any more surprises." "Yes, sir," they collectively answered. The first wave left as fast as it came. It was just over a couple hours since their initial descent onto the planet, and made arrangements to unify their communication within the enemy's jammer. Reports came in of landing parties out from the city center's influence, and periodic strafing runs were conducted to try and destroy what emplacements they had. Some managed their mark. Reports also came in from militiamen on the ground encountering the enemy in gunfights. Roy commanded ships with surveillance tech to support the ground troops, and relayed shoddy videos of their engagements. One such engagement took place in a dilapidated housing sector that was more flatland than actual homes. His men took up locations in buildings that have yet to crumble, and flashes of tracers filled the battlefield. The enemy returned in kind with red flashes that filled the air. "Get me a report from the ground. What kind of tech are they carrying?" he ordered, and an officer manning a series of monitors beckoned for the battlefield. "Got a direct line from one of the troops, patching him through now." The call came through, and sounds of gunfire filled the audio, and the screen came online with choppy video. The operator managing the call did what he could smooth over the video. "Sergeant Cooper, reporting," the trooper said, ducking from incoming fire, and pieces of a wall flew from the impacts. The trooper was fitted with a camouflage pattern that looked to be dated in the 23rd century. He wore a modern up-armored chest rig, and his sleeves were rolled just up his forearm, and wore a single-holed balaclava and a worn ballistic helmet with an up-armored attachment on the frontal portion of the helmet. "Sergeant, I need to know what kind of weaponry the enemy employs." The sergeant looked over the barricade and gave some orders to some of the troopers under him. Calls for the cover fire were heard, and a litany of cracks from the friendly suppressive fire filled the scene before the sergeant turned his attention to the camera. "Hostiles employ a mix of ballistic and energy. Shoots like a repeating laser. Few of their ground forces use it, so I think it's new, even for them. Good work. See if you can recover their tech of personnel. If you can't, don't leave one standing." "Yes, sir," the sergeant responded before the call cut out. For now, defenses were holding, and small engagements occurred on the outskirt of the city centers. "How are we looking for our spy satellites? I don't think they've hit them all," inquired Roy. "We've been trying to get a stable connection using the Delta band, but the signal can't get past the stratosphere. We'd need something to boost the signal, then we might be able to link whatever satellites we have," answered a comms officer. "Do it," he ordered. "Send the most stealth-capable ship we have to act as a booster." The young officers surrounding him got to work, and he turned his attention back to the hollow table. The battlefield casualties danced between forces with humanity losing ground while keeping in range of anti-air battery defenses. A call rang from the previous officer as he reported news on the booster. "Great work," he said calmly, as the hollow table updated in real time. "You've got to be kidding me," he mumbled. The display of the planet was in view, and as more satellites came online, more red indicators filled the space around the planet. Classifications were given to each indicator based on sizes, and were constantly updated with scans from select satellites. A wealth of corvettes, a multitude of frigates differing in size, a handful of cruisers, and 4 carriers. The rest of the scene was filled with fighters in formation in support of their ground troops. They were at the enemy's mercy, and Roy struggled to find a way around it. However, that changed when he was alerted to a notification from the comms officer. "Sir, I have a message. It is automated, but it seems to be coming from Shield Base Gamma." Roy played it and analyzed the hollow table. He noticed a strange contingent breaking off from the main force and gathering in what was almost a seemingly deserted area. "What kind of information does Gamma hold?" he said urgently. "The OWL program, military intelligence, tech, and location of Terra." The realization dawned on him. "Get a strike team together. We can't let that base fall. I need a team yesterday." "Aye, sir." The room responded in unison, and Captain Roy left the command center, toward his ship.
Incoming transmission Delta Band, Shield Base Gamma Defense Inquiry. To Draxmill. From Shield Base Game Defense System, Athena, request accepted. Reinforcements inbound, updating IFF tags for authorization. Base authorization, granted, 26 personnel. Sub-level authorization, granted, 1 personnel. Defenses, compromised. Threat level, critical, initiating Athene protocol. Final authorization required. Ending transmission.